Hi everyone, I hope you've been doing well. It's been like 2-3 months, maybe a bit more, since my last video. But today, I have a bit of a special video. I don't make these kind of videos normally, at least not often. It's not gaming related, because it's actually a book review. Now the book I'm talking about today is called Little Bird. It's by Matthew Ryan Smith, which you may also know as the lead singer of Hodera, a band I listened to a bit too much, I think. This came out on January 1st, 2023, so about like 5 months ago, at the very start of the year. It's a poetry book. I don't have the exact word for, you know, the kind of book that it is. Sorry, I'm not. Once again, just like all of my videos, it's all about my raw thoughts. It's all on my raw, just written down notes, emotions, and all of that about the book. Yeah, I don't like to script my videos at all. I just like the unscripted feel. It gives it a more genuine feeling to it. So I bought this book back on January 6th, so like 5 days after this came out, and I actually wanted to make a review on it like 4 months ago, and I completely forgot about it. I got just caught up in other stuff and stuff in my life. But yesterday at like 4 in the morning, I was listening to First Thing First, and I was like, I'm kind of emotional right now. I should probably read Little Bird. While listening to Matthew sing on the Hodera album, I also read his poetry. So, what is this book about? This book is very personal. It's a very personal book. Even the title itself, Little Bird, is about a bird that Matthew saw. The bird was dying, and whenever someone approached it to take a picture or something, it will just close its eyes in kind of a, you're a predator, you can have me, I'm giving up kind of way. And Matthew thought to himself, you know, what can I do? And there's nothing that Matthew could do. And the poem itself about this little bird reflects a lot of those weaknesses, of those sentiments of helplessness, feeling like you want to do more but you're not able to because it's not your place, or you don't have the power needed, or you don't have the resources to help. When you first open the book, Matthew talks to you directly about his poems and his songwriting and how he feels like songwriting is not the same. He feels like as his poems. In fact, the very first poem is something that he references in the intro, saying that in October of 2022, he went to a private show in Brooklyn and saw someone called Savon Bartley, or Savon Bartley. I'm sorry about the pronunciation. I'm French. That person actually had a poem called Where I'm From, which is the same as the very first poem of the book. Savon told people to get that idea, rip it off him, and make their own poem with that idea, saying where you're from. When you first read through this book, it really feels like more of a personal memoir or a diary even, just in the form of like poems. For example, there is one called Pedro. It's about feelings of, you know, self-reflection and about how people that commit suicide, a lot of them are people that suffer quietly. They don't really reach out for help, and he talks about how sometimes it may seem like because of those people who actually reach out and cry for help, a lot of people that are quietly suffering already have a plan and just don't want any persuading to not commit that plan, actually suffer in silence. Talks about his origins as well in the poem Seeds, about his parents and where they met. Under most of the poems there is a date. I don't know what the dates are. I don't know what those are. I'm guessing it maybe is when the poem was written. I saw there were some from 2020, there were some from 2017 even. And it's kind of interesting because personally I used to also write poems in English back in 2016. I wish I could find them right now. I'm probably not going to. I'm gonna look around, but I lost those files years ago. I had backups and whatnot, but I can't find them anymore. I don't know where I'm looking, I just can't find them anymore. But I also used to write in 2016 about mostly influenced by Tupac and by feelings of, you know, wanting more out of life and feeling like I'm missing something. So it's kind of nice to see poems that are about just as old in this book as when I used to also start writing poems. There is one poem that I really liked and that really influenced my reading of the rest of the book, and it's called Hopelessness. It's about someone who had a bright future, and unfortunately, drugs got involved, and that person was suicidal. And Hadra asked them, "What would your parents say if you actually did commit suicide?" And he replied, "I'd want them to remember me as someone who truly tried to be the kid that they so desperately wished I was again." And to end the poem, with all this pain and suffering, where is the silver lining? How does a kid who wants to die contribute to the overarching storyline? And this is something that I really reflect with, and it's something that actually speaks to me, because I had these feelings of what am I doing for the overall, I don't know, society, for example, or the storyline, I will say. And what I have to say about this is that just like this kid who, like he said to the poem to Matthew, the only reason I'm still alive is drugs. That person had an influence. Yeah, they may be just like a suicidal person. Maybe they're just someone who's doing drugs and they're not doing anything like that to contribute to society, for example, as people would say. But clearly they have an impact on the overarching storyline, as Matthew says, because they're in the book. They are in this book, so they clearly had an impact on the storyline of Matthew, and that means that they also had an impact on me, because I had the chance to read the book, because Matthew got impacted by that person's story. And now I am impacted by that person's story through Matthew's recital of the story. That poem reminds me that we all have a part to play, and it doesn't have to be in a big way, right? It doesn't have to be in society's way, or in a famous way, impact like millions of people. It could just be in the storyline of one person, or it could be for the storyline of a friend, or just even an animal. Even the most lonely person has impacted someone else. We all have impacted someone else. We are all the result of influences and connections we make. We all affect each other, even if we may seem like we don't. We all contribute to the overarching storyline. Some people just don't realize it yet. Overall, there's a lot of feelings that the book gets out of you. Mostly feelings of unfairness, of self-reflection, of contempt, of sadness. It feels like it's sometimes a waste of time with what you're doing, but also a lot of empathy to people, to animals, for example, to the struggles of others. A lot of feelings of that life is fragile, right? Life is very fragile. Life is something that is very malleable, but also you can lose at any point. Most importantly, that it's a feeling that we all matter, right? And we are worth more. And we just need to find a way to be happy with what we want, right? And also, I feel like having reasonable expectations. I feel like a lot of people feel like they have to become famous, for example, or something, when I feel like you need to set your expectations reasonably. Just like Matthew says in the intro of this little book, even if you affect one person, then that's mission accomplished. The rest is icing on a cake. Overall, I really recommend this book. It's a pretty short book. There's not a lot to see. There's not a lot to read. But it's a pretty good, like, half an hour read. I feel like it's mostly something to read if you enjoy poems and thinking a lot about what you just read. It's not like a story that you're going to get invested into with characters and whatnot. It's really just about thinking and self-reflection. If you like that kind of stuff where it makes you think, and I highly recommend this book. It's a very good read. What's funny is that when I read this, I was, like I said, listening to Hadra, and it was an experience. It was quite an experience listening to Matthew sing while reading this. It's quite special, I would say. to be able to read Matthew's poems. It's not like a show, it's just something personal to Matthew that he's sharing with the world, and I really appreciate that. Buy this. I highly recommend it. Read it. Well, that's it. Thank you for watching. I don't really do book reviews or whatever, right? It's just I like to do whatever I like to do on the channel. I don't want to confine myself to gaming, for example, right, or reactions. So I felt like I wanted to make this video, right? So